Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. We are in mantra number 14. Sambhutincha vinashancha yastad vedo bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva asambhutyamritam asnute. Asambhutya amritam ashnute. Today, first we will start with the Shankara Bhăşya. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is writing Bhăşya, very small but precise commentary. Though it's a very contradictory mantra and complicated too. Yata evam ataha samuchchayaha sambhuti asambhuti upasanayoho yuktaha ekaika purusharthatvat cha iti aha sambhutim cha vinasam yaha tad vedaha ubhayam saha. Vinashena means vinashaha dharmaha yasya karyasya saha. Tena dharmina abhedena uchyate vinasha iti. Tena tad upasanena anaishwaryam adharma kamadi dosha jatancha mrityum tirtva hiranyagarbha upasanena hi anivadi praptihi phalam tena anaishwaryadi mrityum atitya asambhutya avyakrita upasanaya amritam prakritilaya lakshanam ashnute sambhutincha vinashancha iti atra avarnalopena nirdeshaha drashtavyaha prakritilaya phalasruti anurodhat. Yesterday, when I started the class, there the mantra was in the last quarter, last line, vinashena mrityum tirtva asambhutya amritam asnute, and I told that a is signifying a very important factor in the philosophy, basic of non-dual philosophy, because who are the other people, other schools of philosophy, they abruptly omitted that a and they wrote tirtva sambhutya amritam ashnute. So I will translate for you that what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji wants to say. He who knows these two, sambhutim cha vinasam cha, means the unmanifested and the destruction. Sambhutim here unmanifested, and the destruction, vinasha, together. What happens? Amritam ashnute, attains immortality, characterized as absorption in Prakriti. And then what is the meaning of asambhutya? Through the worship of the unmanifested. Mrityum tirtva, by crossing over death, that is the bundle of faults such as non-possession of supernormal faculty and demerit, desire, papa, vasana, etc. For through the worship of Hiranyagarbha is obtained such results as powers of becoming subtle, etc. That we have discussed in mantra number 13. That what is the separate result of separate upasana. By crossing over death that consists in the absence of supernormal faculties, vinashena, through destruction. Vinasha is destruction. I'm just exactly trying to translate the commentary of Bhagavan Shankaracharya. Vinasha means destruction, which is an attribute of the product. Means the manifested Brahman or Hiranyagarbha is spoken of as identical with the substantive itself. By crossing death through that means by the worship of that vinasha. So it is to be noted that in sambhutincha vinashamcha there is a presentation by omission of the letter A, means a, before sambhuti, which should be asambhuti, in conformity with the mention of the result. That means absorption in prakriti, means asambhuti. It is indicated by the scriptures that absorption into prakriti is the highest result attainable through human and divine wealth. You know what is human wealth? Human wealth on that time, Vedic period, it was considered cattle, land, gold, etc. Nowadays, cattle is not the big factor. Now cars, property, land, gold, etc. That is human wealth. And what is the divine wealth? Meditation on God, always, the mind is always intended to God, is divine wealth, according to Ananda Giriji. Clear? So the thing is, up to this is the course of worldly existence. Beyond this is the identification with the self in all. In mantra number 6 and 7, it was told very nicely. As indicated earlier in the verse, that when to the man of realization, all beings becomes the very self. We will just chant the mantra number 6 and 7. I think it will remind you something. So what mantra number 6 says? Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati yastu sarvani bhutani atmani eva anupashyati. Then sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tataha na vijugupsate. And the seventh mantra was Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva abhut vijanata. Tatra ka mohaha kaha sokaha ekatvam anupashyata. It was the sixth and seventh mantra. So, which is the result of the devotion to knowledge after renouncing all desires. Thus has been revealed the twofold purport of the Vedas, consisting in desire for, and renunciation of activity. As to this, the Satapat Brahmana, ending with the Pravargya ritual. You know, there is one ritual called Pravargya ritual, is devoted to the revelation of the whole purport of that section of the Veda, which is in the form of injunctions and prohibitions concerning desire for activity. And the Brihadaranya Upanishad thereafter is devoted to the revelation of the Vedic purport concerning renunciation of activity. So in this connection, the verse is like that he who knows these two, Vidya and Avidya, together attains immortality through Vidya by crossing over death through Avidya. In mantra number 11, it was discussed earlier. What was the mantra number 11? Mantra number 11 says, Vidyam cha avidyam cha yastat veda ubhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. You will please listen to my earlier classes. So it has been cited for the person who wants to live by doing rites, beginning from conception and ending in death, in conjunction with meditation on the lower Brahman. Now then the question, by what route will be achieved normally or immortality, is being answered now. That which is the truth, means Brahman, is that sun that we will in 15th mantra we will see, but in Brihadaranya Upanishad the same concept is there. Brihadaranya Upanishad 5.5.2. That sun, who is the person in this solar orb, as also this person in the right eye. He who has meditated on both these persons as the truth Brahman and performed the rites as mentioned in the scriptures, prays at the time of death to that sun which is truth by nature, for the door leading to the self in the next verse, Hiranmayena Patrena, that we will discuss afterwards. So here you have to see Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji takes Vinasha to refer to Karya Brahman, which was described in the earlier mantra as Sambhuti and Sambhava. But in this mantra, the Rishi says that Sambhuti and Vinasha are one and the same. Therefore, Sambhuti in all these three mantras must be the same. That is the argument. The terms Sambhuti in the first half and Sambhuti in the second half must somehow be made to mean Prakriti. But already Sambhuti and Asambhuti were explained as Prakriti. So how can this be accomplished? Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji achieves this by taking recourse to the grammatical license permissible to the declarations in the style of Vedas. Chandasi Bahulam is the Panini Sutra. Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji says, read the letter A before each of the words Sambhuti and Vinasa. And take the letter A, means Avagraha, denoting negation. Yatra, it's moving. Ayatra, not moving. Kalyan, akalyan. So generally that avagraha or anat pratyaya yoge, we negate the thing. So avagraha denoting negation as having been found dropped in the original, as permitted by the Vedic grammar. This is again an instance where philosophers enter into unproductive arguments. One very satisfaction explanation our Tapovanji Maharaj gave to the group of students where our Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji was under his tutelage in Gangotri. He beautifully reconciled this confusing contradiction. He suggested to the student, to Gurudev, to recognize Sambhuti and Sambhava as meaning the birth of a new spiritual life, and Asambhuti and Vinasham as referring to cessation and destruction. What cessation and what destruction? Cessation of the creation of new vasana. Vasana means inherent instinctual actions. And the total destruction of the entire existing vasanas. So, cessation of creation of new impression, new vasana, and destruction means destruction of the entire existing vasanas. So, in this sense, Sri Ramakrishna in his very simple language is telling, जिन्होंने मिस्री का पानी कभी पिया है, उनका गुड़ अच्छा नहीं लगता. चीटे गुड़, So I don't know उसका हिंदी कैसे होता है. মিশ্রির শরবত খেলে চিটে গুড়ের পানা ওলা লাগে. So Ramakrishna is saying. So in this sense, asambhuti, asambhava, and vinasham are all pointing to the same spiritual condition. They mean the annihilation of all material wants and the consequent absence of rebirth into this mortal plane in order to exhaust the existing vasanas. Our Gurudev also explained it in differently, that sambhuti, the choosing, and therefore the becoming of a life divine, and asambhuti, the cessation of all undivine activities pursued when living as a helpless slave to 1,000 mad passions, beautifully reconciles the seeming contradiction in this mantra. So we need not howl in the support of grammar and take shelter behind chandas, meter, nor need we import new meaning to these terms, which have been already defined in a different way in the previous mantras. The experience of Brahman and its infinite freedom are described in the Chandogya Upanishad more than once. And on that occasion, the sage, the rishis, uses the term abhisambhuti and abhisambhava. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the sage Yajnavalkya, in his teachings to Maitreyi, says, the liberated one attains to vinasha after death. And there is no other name for liberation. Means while living, he attains vinasha. सन्यासी जगत के लिए मृत है और जगत एक सच्चे सन्यासी के लिए मृत है. It is obvious that here the destruction, vinasha, is of the vasanas that maintained and shaped the egocentric personality, means jiva, jivatva of the seeker. Here, in this mantra, the word death is to be understood in its largest significance as including and incorporating in its purview the entire principle of finitude in this mortal world, of course. Ajnani, who has the devotion of a Radha alone, can live the life of a true Parthasarathi, Krishna, and guide the chariot of his era to assure success and victory over the demon-like forces of decadence and stupor into which the history has fallen. The rest of the terms in the mantra are amply clear since they are only repetition from the earlier triad. So, just a moment. So, here you should note that combination of upasana and upasana. So how that gross world came from? The gross world came from the subtle. How that subtle came? The subtle came from avyakta or unmanifested. Sambhuti means manifested. Asambhuti means avyakta or unmanifested. But Maya and Prakriti are presided by the Prakriti. Then the manifested, the subtle means the and the unmanifested. Both are same. And it was told in the earlier mantra that who does upasana or prayer or asambhuti, they enter into the dark world. And जो सूक्ष्म शरीर अभिमानी आत्मा हिरण्यगर्भ को उपासना करते हैं वो और गहरा अंधेरा में प्रवेश करते हैं. लेकिन जिन्होंने संभूति और विनाश को समझे हैं, संभूति मतलब विकार समन्वित कारण, जिनका मैनिफेस्टेशन हुआ है, उसका मृत्यु होगा ही होगा. See, giving birth to anything else, may either it is a baby or a house or anything else, sometimes it is in our hand. Whether should we produce any baby or should we erect any houses or anything else. But whenever it has been manifested, the destruction is must, because then it is under the sixfold modification. Jayate asti viparinamate, jayate asti vardhate, viparinamate apakshyate and vinashyate. This sixfold thing. Here amritam means prakriti laya. Vinashena mrityum tirtha. Then amritam asnute. How prakriti vilaya, moksha. यहां पर भगवान शंकराचार्य जी ने पुराण का सहायता लिया है और इसमें कोई दोष भी नहीं. Because where the Vedas are not clear, there we can take the help of the Puran. Viveka Chudamani says the mind is the avidya karya, the effect of the ignorance. And vyakta has come from the avyakta only. So what is beyond avyakta? Beyond avyakta is Parabrahma, the supreme Brahman. Means the same thing. Īśāvaśyamidagum sarvam yat kinca jagatyam. asambhuti, asambhav, vinas. Vasanas, vasana law. Vasana means inherent tendency. And what does it mean by mrityu, death? Mrityu means fear, bhai. और उसका विनाश मतलब क्या? When you lift your mind towards God, then all other vasanas go off. Sri Ramakrishna says, পূবের দিকে যত এগোনো যায় পশ্চিম পিছনে পড়ে যায়। ব্রহ্ম সত্য, জগৎ মিথ্যা। See, if you take the first part, পূবের দিকে যত যাবে, whenever as much you will go forward towards the east, effortlessly the west will be far from you. Suppose you have started from your home to the ashram. So as much as you will be closer to Chinmaya Mission, Kolkata, your house will be far from you, back from you. And this is effortlessly. I'm forgetting the actual word. So, but for that you have to prepare your mind. So, because in Taittiriya Upanishad has clearly mentioned about it, that why we will do karma and upasana to prepare our mind. And it has been told that if anyone has desire, just fulfill it. Then come to Vedanta. Beside that, whoever needs the information, they also study Upanishad. I told you, the universities professors, I met several professors of philosophy, Indian philosophy. Their specialization was on Upanishads. But in our personal conversation, honestly they told that Swamiji, we don't believe in that. But in the lecture, they quote here and there, left and right from the Upanishads. So a lot of people study Upanishad for earning livelihood, for gathering information. So Vedanta is telling, whenever your all desires will be exhausted and you want to know the actual purpose of life, then Vedanta study will be fruitful for you. Whoever wants to be drunken always in that bhava, आनंद के समुंदर में जो डूबे रहना चाहते हैं, उनके लिए वेदांत. Because Vedantic thought is only Paramesh. The whole world is avyakta. Vyakta means sukshma, gross, subtle, gross, etc. Avyakta and vyakta. And what is the Brahma Vidya Phalam? What is the result of the knowledge? Brahma Ved, Brahma Eva Bhavat. The knower of Brahman is Brahman. How far you can go through the karma, through puja, through japa, through bhajan, through worship, through prayer, up to Brahmaloka or Prakriti Laya. Then when the karma phala will be exhausted, again they have to come. Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji once told, Etavati samsara. And Binova Bhaveji wrote commentary on Íśopanișad. He also took the same idea. And the conclusion is why we are exhausting our valuable energy in karma. Because result is samsara only. So come into the path of knowledge and liberate yourself while living. While living. Jivan Mukti. Hari Om Tat Sat.